Hello and welcome to the Satluj TV podcast. Today's returning guest is Dr. Gurinder Singh Grewal, MD, who's not only a distinguished cardiology specialist in California with over 48 years of experience, he's also a passionate advocate for Sikh and Khalistan causes. He's a co-founder of SikhHeritageEducation.com that documents and archives material relevant to Sikh rights and history. And he was also the co-founder of the World Sikh News, a hard-copy newspaper that ran for 12 years before the digital revolution took over. Deeply impacted by the events of 1984, Dr. Grewal has since then been a powerful advocate ensuring the world never forgets those events. Dr. Grewal, welcome. Thank you for joining us once again today.
Good morning, Angus. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Now, Dr. Grewal, Operation Bluestar is of course the well-known attack on the Harmandir Sahib in June 1984, which of course led to the murder of up to tens of thousands of innocent Sikh men, women and children, and of course the death of Sant Jarnail Singh Bhadramwali. It's widely believed, and of course accepted knowledge, that this was the reason that led Beant Singh and Satwant Singh to assassinate the architect of that attack, Indira Gandhi, some 5 months later in revenge. And yet, very few people have heard about another operation. An operation also planned by Indira Gandhi against Sikhs that was so monstrous in its intention, it was in fact to stop this very operation from happening that was the real reason she was killed by her Sikh bodyguards. So it's this Operation Shanti that I'd like to ask you about today. And maybe if we go through the timeline of 1984, leading up to Operation Shanti, or what would have been, perhaps it's best to start with the context of the early part of 1984 and of course Operation Bluestar, but more particularly Operation Woodrose, slightly lesser known, another Gandhi operation. Dr. Grewal, could you perhaps talk a little bit about the context of Operation Woodrose and what was going on around that sort of time in 1984?
So, the Operation Bluestar and Operation Woodrose were two big operations Indira Gandhi carried out against the Sikhs to teach them a lesson and punish the Sikhs for their participation in agitations during the emergency, because they were only group which never stopped agitating, and 60,000 some people went to the jail. So she had a plan to punish. That was Operation Bluestar and then Operation Woodrose. And nobody knows exactly how many people died, and hundreds of thousands of people died. So that was started in June, but then there was next election coming, end of 84 or beginning of 85, and her team analysis showed that she was not winning with absolute majority. So to win the other election, to get the Hindu vote, another operation was planned. It's called Operation Shanti. Although even at Satluj TV it has been talked before, we have mentioned a little bit of, but the enormity of it, I think, has not been appreciated in general by Sikhs or other people, because Indira Gandhi died, so focus is mostly on what happened there. But Operation Shanti was a big genocide of the Sikhs planned to take place on November 8th. That was Guru Nanak's birthday. So Sikhs would have celebrated that in all the Gurdwaras. Plan was to start some trouble along the Pakistan border and make it look like Pakistan has started a war, and Sikhs are joining and Pakistanis are coming in, and the 5 districts, Amritsar, Gurdaspur, Firozpur, Kapurthla, Jalandhar, will be bombarded by the planes, and the army and paramilitary forces will kill the Sikhs on the ground. That was in Punjab. They was also worried that when they started, Pakistan may take advantage of this and start problem in Kashmir. So she went to Kashmir on October 27th and made sure everything was fine. So what was to be done on November 8th, they have hired gundas, about 200,000, who would go to in Delhi to go to Sikh areas, mostly poor areas, and Congress I, that's Congress I, Indira Congress is said Congress I. Leaders have planned and made maps where the Sikhs, and they have even marked that they will mark the S on the houses, and these houses will be looted, burned, Sikhs will be killed, Gurdwaras will be destroyed. And this was all a plan to teach Sikhs a lesson, win Hindu votes, and supposed to be done on November 8th. What happened? This plan leaked. So somebody in PCL Gurinder, who was the principal secretary to Prime Minister, leaked this plan, and General Zia, who was the president of Pakistan then, found out. He sent his ambassador. He said, go to Prime Minister's office directly, don't go to Foreign Office, which is a protocol. And he called the Prime Minister's office. He wanted to have a high-level meeting without any conditions, wanted to avoid the war. So that was one thing which leaked. And then R.K. Tavan was a private secretary to the Prime Minister. He also worked in her father's office, and he was their personal confidant. He had a friendship with Beant Singh, who was one of the bodyguards for Indira Gandhi. He, for a reason unknown, he also leaked this plan to Beant Singh. And Beant Singh, knowing what this was going to be, he recruited his other friend, Satwant Singh, and they decided that the only option they had to prevent this was to kill Indira Gandhi, which happened on October 31st. Early morning, Beant Singh shot her in the abdomen, and then Satwant Singh emptied his weapon, and she was almost dead when they took her to the hospital. Beant Singh also made it sure that his friend will not do anything where R.K. Tavan will be harmed, because he will be somewhere close to the Prime Minister. So they knew the importance of saving him. When Indira Gandhi was taken to the hospital, they were resuscitating her. R.K. Tavan was there in the hospital, but he was calling again and again to Prime Minister's home to find out what happened to Beant Singh. He was worried that he may leak his name and there will be consequences to him. So the needle points to him even in the Thakur Commission, which was commission assigned job to find out what happened after Indira Gandhi's death. So this plan, which was to take place on November 8th, didn't happen on November 8th because she died. Her son and the party man decided to start the plan earlier. So night of October 31st, November 1st to November 3rd or 4th, this plan, which was to be done on Guru Nanak's birthday, was carried out in Delhi, where Congress high leaders will go mark the house with S, that the Sikhs are there. They were looted, burned, killed, raped. So Gurdwaras were destroyed, fires were started. Even the Hindus and Muslims who gave some protection to their neighbors, their houses were attacked. So this plan, which was pre-planned for November 8th, happened after Indira Gandhi's death. So these two brave Sikhs were able to prevent a bigger genocide of the Sikhs. So I think in current environment, if you think it over what's happening, Punjab would have looked like Gaza. I think their sacrifice saved hundreds and thousands, maybe million or more Sikhs. I think the Sikh nation owed special gratitude to these two brave men. So this was Plan Shanti to help her win Hindu votes for the coming next election. So the reason she died, reason she was killed by two bodyguards who were Sikhs, not because they took revenge for Golden Temple massacre. I think they prevented another big massacre which would have been very large in proportion. I think the last conclusion I am making is my own conclusion. I think this has not been appreciated how big it would have been. If you look at the everyday news in Gaza, I think Punjab would have looked just like that.
Yeah, do you think what I find quite shocking about this is that Indira Gandhi was playing with fire, because her plan, as I understand it, was to, I suppose, create skirmishes along the border with Pakistan and claim that Pakistan was potentially invading, that the Sikhs were uniting with the Pakistan army to attack the Indian army effectively. Potentially, she is stirring up, she's not just attacking the Sikhs here, she is potentially stirring up a new war with Pakistan, because this could very quickly spiral out of control.
She was a devil incarnation of a prime minister. Many army generals advised her against this, but General Vaidya, who was the chief of army staff, who also was the head when the army attacked Golden Temple, stood by her and he said, don't worry, we have all the preparation. Pakistan will not be able to do anything in Kashmir. So she had at least one person who was conniving or supporting her. In this plan, they have also made a plan to keep informed the vice president, Venkat Raman, not the president who was sick, because they felt like he could not be trusted. So this was all, not even the president of India was supposed to know this.
And it turns out that President Zia over the border in Pakistan did, fortunately, as it turns out, discover this plan through whatever leaks happened. And I understand that he made every effort through diplomatic channels to bring Indira Gandhi to the table to talk about the situation. So again, it was maybe ironic that it was even Pakistan trying to stop what potentially could be a war coming from Indira Gandhi's irresponsible actions.
Well, Pakistanis tried their best to avoid it. At Indira Gandhi's funeral, General Zia came and he even in his speech mentioned that he tried his best to avoid a war. They did not want war, but she wanted to use that excuse to kill the Sikhs.
And presumably, an operation like this, it's not something that you would think could be planned just very quickly in a matter of weeks. And certainly many discussions that we've had in the past about Operation Bluestar has revealed that Operation Bluestar was actually many, many years in the planning. It wasn't just an impulsive decision by Indira Gandhi. It was clearly pre-planned. It was also working alongside Operation Woodrose. So those two operations were long planned and long rolled out operations. Now, do you think that this Operation Shanti, do you think it was an impulsive operation, or do you think this formed part of a grand plan or a bigger plan that originally included Operation Shanti as a wider plan, let's call it a triangle of plans to attack the Sikhs, or do you think it was just an impulsive decision after Operation Bluestar?
I think she became more brave, getting away with the first two operations and killing a lot of Sikhs. So she thought it is no consequences to her. Although before her death for last few days, she was very worried and she thought that she going to have a violent death. So she was in a hurry to carry out this. So she did not care about anybody. She cared about her family rule and winning the election, and sacrificing the Sikhs to them seems a very little effect, because the majority community, the RSS and all that, were very supportive of that. So she was trying to outdo the RSS getting the votes in the next election.
Yeah, and do you think, and again, going back to the planning of this operation, and again, it's a very complex plan. It involves agents provocateurs across the Punjab, deliberately stirring up trouble and trying to create there was already an independence movement, but certainly to agitate and encourage the independence movement to rise up. But of course, to create a plan like this must involve a lot of people. It must involve, one would assume, the intelligence service, RAW. So again, do you think there must have been a lot of people involved in this operation, both in the government and across the intelligence services?
I have a hard time hearing you a little bit, but this operation was not planned by her only. I mean, this was her plan, but she had a lot of people supporting her, including the chief of army, because they did not care of the Sikhs. They thought they just needed something to win the election. She was used to doing this. She did in Bangladesh, and she was able to win the next election. So she was used to doing this.
And I believe that she had already instructed, and certainly leading up to Operation Bluestar, she had moved out key military personnel who might have been sympathetic to the Sikhs. She had moved them away deliberately and replaced them with more military officers who were more anti-Sikh. And presumably this would have helped in Operation Shanti as well.
Yes, because she was also upset that she has to give control of Golden Temple back to the Akalis, because the president advised her, this will be great consequences if you don't do that. So she has not given up anti-Sikh campaign after the Golden Temple attack or the Operation Woodrose. So this was a continuous plans by her to win the election, and the atmosphere was like that against the Sikhs. They have created the atmosphere where they could use that to their advantage.
And that's an area I'm quite interested in to explore just for a few minutes, is the post-Operation Bluestar time. So we're looking at July, August, those sort of summer months when, of course, public opinion has now seen the horrors of Operation Bluestar and the mass killings of innocent men, women and children. So do you think that there really was a changing of public opinion where previously, clearly there had been whipped up against the Sikh community leading up to Operation Bluestar, but do you think the pictures that emerged after the attack on the Golden Temple, do you think there really was a very big shift in public opinion? Firstly, in sympathy with the Sikhs, and maybe starting to turn against Indira Gandhi?
So to talk about public opinion, the government controlled the press. So most of the press was supporting the Prime Minister's action. Even there was no private TV channel then. The program called Doordarshan on TV was broadcasting again and again, Khoon ka badla khoon. That's blood for blood. There were rumors circulated on the Doordarshan. The Sikhs are celebrating, distributing sweets when Indira Gandhi died. So the press, whether it was radio, TV or newspaper, were all controlled by the government, and the public opinion depended on what they fed them.
Yes, it's very evident that Operation Shanti is not well known. But of course, a lot of people must have known about its existence, certainly at the time, because it was such a large and complex operation. And yet it remains not very well known. How do you think that the Indian government particularly have managed to keep it so secret for so long?
Well, because the leader of the Operation Shanti died, I think they had some chaos in what they were trying to do. And the army action, which was with the Pakistan and all, didn't happen. So the only consequences was in Delhi and around and in the Hindi belt areas, where it's estimated maybe 30,000 people total died. But if you think of what could have happened if the bombardment took place in Punjab, just imagine Punjab looking like Gaza. It could have been hundreds of thousands, maybe millions. So I think it was carried out chaotically because it happened suddenly.
It is a horrific prospect knowing what could have happened. Do you think, God forbid if it had happened, what do you think in reality? Now, I suppose my interpretation of the Sikh community is they are extremely resilient and they never give up without a fight. If this operation had happened, to me it's very clear that the surviving Sikhs would not have sat back and let it happen. What do you think the outcome of this would have been? Do you think essentially there would have been a full-scale militant uprising against the Indian government?
The Sikhs have already lost faith in the system. They didn't think this country is for them. If this Operation Shanti was carried out in Punjab the way it planned, I don't know the consequences. I think Sikhs would have been alienated forever, even though some of us are alienated, but I think everybody would have been alienated, and keeping this country as a one, even at that time, would have been hard. So it's hard to imagine with so many people dead and like war, what would be the reaction? I don't think I can describe, I can imagine what would have happened. I think it would have been a terrible situation. Most of the people would have been busy trying to take care of whatever is left and survive, but long-term consequences will be much more grave, and I don't think Sikhs would have ever liked to stay with India.
Yeah, and clearly the pro-Khalistan movement today is not just alive and well, it is growing massively, increasing its support globally, particularly across the diaspora and within Punjab itself. The knowledge of Operation Shanti, to me, is explosive, but it's not widely known. Do you think the impact of this knowledge of Operation Shanti, if everybody within the Sikh community globally is aware of the sheer scale of Operation Shanti and what could have happened, do you think this will support the pro-Khalistan movement? Do you think it will provide yet further support for the Khalistan movement?
You know, with the help of social media, TV channel like Satluj and some other, so more people are knowing these things which were not known for many years of what the consequences are. So I think this is in general creating a lot more support for Sikhs for Justice or other organizations which are dedicated for establishment of a free Sikh state called Khalistan. So I think the purpose of bringing it up for discussion again is to make sure people understand what happened and what could have happened. And what do they think of Sikhs in India? They don't think of us anything. We are disposable commodity for elections.
Yeah, I think that is a fair point, and I think it's a huge responsibility for all of us to ensure that everybody, globally even, is aware of Operation Shanti. And it's been fascinating to hear about the details of what could have been a horrific and monstrous act. But unfortunately, Dr. Grewal, we must leave it there. But we will, of course, be discussing with you for more issues in the near future. I look forward to it. Dr. Grewal, it's been an absolute pleasure once again. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Angus. Thank you for giving me the time, and so this message get out to the people. Once again, I just want people who are listening to understand why we brought again. Think of what you see on the TV in Gaza or other places. Punjab would have looked like that, and we want to make sure never again 84.
Indeed. Powerful point to finish on. Dr. Grewal, many thanks, and thank you for watching the Satluj TV podcast. We will see you next time.